What is up, everybody? It is Tyler with Hooksets are free. Hope you guys are having a great night. It is Sunday night, January 16th, right before Martin Luther King Day, and thought I would hop on here. My wife did not work the last couple nights, so I did not have the opportunity to hop on like normal on, say, a Thursday, Friday, or Saturday night. But I do have a little bit of something to show you tonight. So wanted to hop on and at least do that for you guys, as well as just see if anybody's down to hang out for a little while this evening, because it's been, I don't know, the better part of a week since I've been on. But Daniel T in the house, moderator. What's up, man? Um, Glad that I made you the moderator last week, man. That was pretty weird having those Russian bots and stuff, huh, man? How have you been this week? Adam Odin in the house. What's up, man? How you doing tonight? Ron Holly, Bassless chap. Oh yeah, he says. Yeah, this is nothing super special, but I am gonna open that along with you know, one or two other things for you guys that should be pretty exciting to talk about. Just whether you're watching this now live or on the replay, we can just talk about the fact that every year Tackle Warehouse does a couple of big sales, but after Black Friday, every year, right around Christmas, they do this unique thing called the 25 days of Christmas. So every day for 25 days, I think in December and into early January, they do a different deal of the day where they are offering a certain percentage off of a specific category of products. And the cool thing is, it's not like that deal goes away. So the first day might be 30% off select crankbaits, for example. And then the next day might move to soft plastics, and the next day to rods and reels. Um, but it's on a rolling basis. So once you get toward the end of the sale, then everything remains on sale that was a deal is still a deal. So I was able to take advantage later on in the sale. They keep that live until as late as January 10th. Um, at least was the case this year. So I made that purchase, a week ago or so, and the rod was in there. So I wanted to show you guys what I got there, and we'll talk about it in just a second. But it looks like Daniel Rojas is in the house. What's up, man? Adam is finally feeling better from the COVID. Okay, so you're out of the hospital and recovering, I take it. Last live stream, Adam was in the hospital with COVID and on the struggle bus. So that is great to hear, man. Um, Happy to hear it. Ryan Dyke in the house. How you doing, Ryan? Daniel says he's got rain, ice, and snow where he is right now. That's unfortunate. We've had a couple of snowstorms here in Colorado in the last week, but today, for example, it was 55 and sunny. Gorgeous day. So can't complain here, man. Daniel painted some S cranks the other day. That sounds pretty awesome. I finally painted one of my flat-sided balsa crankbaits today. I am still waiting on some lips to get for these guys, but I've put uh, the screws in for the line tie and the hook hangers, and cut out the lip slot, and then I sealed the bait, painted it white, and actually used nail polish, like a cool pearlescent, almost June bugish type of color. Um, Started working on that today, so I'll show you guys that sooner than later once I actually get those lips in and I'm able to finish one or a couple of those baits. But pretty excited about that. So we're on the same page there, Daniel. Ryan says, "How are you and the family? It's warmed up here in Saskatchewan. Perfect ice fishing weather. That's awesome." Yeah, last we talked, you said it was in the negatives for sure. So I'm glad to hear that you've got safe ice, you've got nice weather, and out doing some ice fishing. So Right on. Me and my family, we're doing quite well. We're managing to dodge COVID. My 6 year old has had multiple exposures now in the last 2 weeks since being back at school after the holidays. So, specifically in her classroom, either teachers or classmates have tested positive, and we get notified by the school, and so that's kind of a scary thing, and just crossing our fingers, hoping for the best. So, guys, we got 10 people in here already. 4 people hit the thumbs up button already. Do me a quick favor, hit that thumbs up if you're hanging out in here, and excited to see some stuff from Tackle Warehouse. Brian says, I won some contest to win some Rico brand lures from Tackle Warehouse, and are Ricos any good? Yeah, dude, they are. Um, Absolutely. It's a popping style bait. They do also make a walking bait, but really they're known for their Rio Rico uh top water popper, and it's a very good bait. It's a $20 popper. I could try and retrieve it right now. Um Track it down for you, show you one. If I can find out where my poppers are at the moment. Swim baits, specialty cranks. I think maybe I put my poppers in a bigger box recently. Yo, dude, I don't know. All I will say is yes, dude, they are definitely good. They've got a really loud rattle. They walk well. You can actually work them really fast. That's what Rick Clun had in mind when building that specific popper. That kind of like the old P70 Pop R by Rebel, when guys would shave that bottom lip down. It's got a cupped face that they would shave that bottom lip, and so it would spit, and they would just work it really fast along the surface of the water. So the Rico is known to be a bait that you can work really quickly, but it also has a really solid multi-purpose type of action. So yeah, congrats on the win on that contest, Brian. Ron says it was 15 degrees there in Rhode Island for most of the day today. Not surprised by that, man. Yeah, Daniel, I am not dead serious about painting lures in the future, so I don't necessarily want to get an airbrush, but we shall see. Okay, Bruce Nichols in the house. How you doing, man? Daniel, I've got a lot. Oh, here's my poppers. Can show you guys the. So in terms of Megabass Vision 110s, I'm gonna venture to say 25 or so. I don't know. That's a total ballpark guess. Um, but they're not all standard Vision 110s. I've got the plus ones. I've got the juniors. I've got the junior plus ones. And then I've got the silence and the regulars. So here is the Rico. This is just like an iced out version. And this allows you to see the chambers where the rattles are strategically placed. So a little bit different. This is the same blank, same body really as what you get in the Yellow Magic, as well as the Don Iovino Splash It. So I find that to be really interesting. And I think I've got them both. I've got these guys in similarly translucent colors. This is the Splash It by Don Iovino. And if you take a look here, you can see that this guy has the same number of chambers, but has some steel balls in that middle chamber that the Rico did not. So if you listen, the Rico's loud, the Splash It because of those two steel balls, the Splash It's just a little bit higher pitch. And then here's the Yellow Magic Magnum Popper. Also has two steel BBs in that middle chamber. Can you see that? This is a very, very similar bait, the Splash It versus the Yellow Magic. And so the Rico is essentially the same blank, just with slightly different rattles in it and little bit of a different shape on the lip. But yeah, hard to say that it's worth $20+ when the other ones don't quite cost that, but it is what it is, and they're I think highly regarded as arguably the best poppers on the market. Depends on who you ask, you know. But Brian says, I watched a Bass University seminar on the Berkeley Gilly coming out. That lure looks awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that in depth at another time. But I've got some stuff to go through and show you. So this is mostly going to be an unboxing, but I would love to talk about the Gilly another time for sure. What's up, Matthew? How you doing tonight, man? Good to see you in here. Yeah, as I said about 10 minutes ago when I started, I was not able to get on the last couple nights because my wife's work schedule was a little bit different this week, and so I got my Tackle Warehouse stuff in and thought that I would hop on, show you guys what I got, and tonight just happened to be the night. So, all right, pop the top on this rod tube. It is reaching across the room that way. I'm gonna have to pull it out this way. Kind of hard to do this all on camera because this thing is like 8 feet tall. Let's hope it's not broken in the package, and let's hope I can reach it out. Oh boy. All right, so nothing crazy special other than the deal that I got on this thing. And we talked about this. I was strongly considering getting a Dobyns Fury 806 Swimbait rod, but ultimately I didn't pull the trigger until too late during the sale. As I mentioned, this sale goes for really all of December and into January. So it's a really cool thing that Tackle Warehouse does because those deals keep going. It's not like they reset every single day. So you can just keep your eye on stuff and then load your cart up gradually. I know that Ron, Bassless chap, ended up missing out because January 10th passed him by, and he didn't pull the trigger quick enough. And so he was planning on buying some stuff and just missed the boat. But as he said, didn't really need the lures, but might as well face it, we're addicted to lures. So Ron has been mentioning that a lot recently, and I totally agree. Maybe we need to get some sort of a theme song on this live stream about might as well face it, I'm addicted to lures. This makes me nervous pulling this out. Okay, so this is the one and only rod that I picked up during this sale, and it was cheap. Okay, I've heard good things about this rod. In fact, I think Matt has mentioned things about it before. Maybe he was the one who recommended it in the first place. But this is the Daiwa Aired X. So this is one of the more, how should we say, budget-friendly rods on the market. I can't even fit this into the frame. So Air DX. As you can see, this is the 7'3" medium heavy fast action. I don't think they made it in a moderate fast, if I'm not mistaken. 7'3" medium heavy fast. 4 lures rated 1/4 to 1 ounce. And for line 10 to 20 pounds. This is really a rod that I will plan to use as kind of a do everything stick. So it's got a decent amount of backbone. This is truly a fast action. So I like the design of this rod blank and how you can see that it's crisscrossed for extra reinforcement. That's pretty cool. The guides are not quite micro guides, but I will still throw this with a straight fluorocarbon on it as opposed to braid to a leader. And yeah, it's got EVA foam grips. So, not necessarily my favorite, but also definitely something that I don't mind. Do have the exposed blank behind the reel seat. Got a bait keeper up top, and seems to be a well-made rod. Of course, this is a one piece. They make it in maybe a half a dozen actions or so, as well as some spinning models. And the cool thing about this rod is that it retails for 50 bucks and has a really good reputation. So I was curious because the rods that I have that are 50 bucks are not very good and are pretty heavy. And just right away, I can feel that this rod is significantly lighter than, say, that, Abu Garcia Vengeance rod that you'd get at Walmart. So excited to try that out and use that as kind of a do everything type of rod for this upcoming season. But that thing was on sale for what, 38 bucks? Something like that. And so I am not mad about that and could not help myself but pick one up and try it out so as to be able to tell you guys whether it's one of the best bang for the buck intro casting rods that you can get. So picked up that rod as well as some other goodies, and we're going to talk about that right now. Bruce Nichols always leaving the live streams to take the dog out. What is that? So Daniel T, me and Matt were talking about it last night, wondering where I was, huh? Okay, well, no worries. Sorry about it. Sorry, I'm not sorry. Now Tackle Warehouse, because they now have 2 warehouses, what ends up happening is in one order, it's not uncommon to get 2 separate boxes, one that's coming from each warehouse, which honestly doesn't bother me because they're not charging extra shipping for it. But of course, you end up with an extra box. Like this smaller box literally came with 1 pack of soft plastics in it, and that's kind of silly. But whatever, who cares? All right, guys. Berkley 3.5-inch tube max scent. I had picked up some of the 2.5-inch tubes when I stocked up on max scent like a month ago, something like that. I thought that first bag was going to be max scent, was going to be the tubes, but let me see. Oh yeah, Chigger Craws. Let me see if I can grab some of these tubes. Where you at, tubes? Crazy, yo. I did pick up a lot of max scent, but so here's that 2.5-inch tube, which is an awesome finesse tube. But one that you might want to use like a Ned rig hook, or specifically drop shot the tube, whereas a 3.5-inch tube is a little bit more my go-to size for using a tube head jig. And I might look into getting some of the Berkley Fusion tube jigs. I told you guys last stream that I do still like to use the Strike King tour grade tube jigs that have a Gamakatsu hook in them. I like them just fine. So, of course, these have that nasty nast on them, and they had the green pumpkin in stock in the 3.5-inch. So I think that was just a last minute impulse purchase. I don't even think it was on sale, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just adding it to my cart for who knows why. $6.99. I did pay full price on that. So Daniel says, what are the markers called used to color plastics? Spike it. So Spike It is the name of, a scent company, but they make these with dyes and scents. So this is a chartreuse pen that happens to also smell like crawfish. So this one, on the other hand, is a black. Might want to throw a shad dot or a line, or just accent a bait. But they make these in all sorts of colors, and great for soft plastics. So Spike It. Now, let's get into the juice right here. Sticker feels bigger than normal. Let me see if I can't find the invoice, because I did spend the bare minimum in order to get this guy right here. That'll give you a hint as to kind of what the order totaled at when all was said and done. But as I told you guys, a vast majority of what is in this package is Jackall, hard baits and soft plastics. So I will start with stuff that is not Jackall, and then we'll move on to everything that is, since it's the vast majority of stuff. Ron says, ever noticed the worse something smells, the more people feel it they need to smell it? Yeah. And did you notice that in Debo's video the other day? He was unboxing, I guess he got a surprise package from Pure Fishing, the guys over at Berkley. And so he got some cool ice fishing rods and reels, a couple conventional reels, and then a bunch of baits. And he was just whiffing the max scent, whiffing the new power bait infused jigs, and was like gagging. Yeah, when you know it stinks, you got to take a whiff. I'm probably going to do that with these Big Bite baits right here, right now, because I know that they stink as well. So, all right, I picked up 2 packs of a bait that is relatively new to the market, but for whatever reason, one that I had not picked up just yet. And I'm pretty sure this is one that I've added to my cart and then dropped like probably 4 or 5 different times since this bait has been released. And it's possible that the bait's actually been on the market for like a year and a half and not just half of a year, but I don't totally remember. And that is the Big Bite Baits BFE. And BFE stands for Best Flipper Ever. So this is a flipping bait. Just going to go ahead and rip it, open it up for you guys because I'm probably not going to hang it up anyway, and that's not important to me. But Big Bite Baits have a very strong anise or anise flavor to them, or scent. Licorice. I mean, good Lord. Ooh. So this color pattern, gotta whiff it again, gotta whiff it. And this is disappointing. You know, one of my not so favorite things about a lot of Big Bite Baits, soft plastics, and Gambler, for example, they make great stuff. Same with Zoom, but they don't package them very well. They try to. You know, these are lined like 3 or 4 on a side, on each side, but they're still twisted up. And so these are a little bit messed up. But check this bait out. It is a streamlined profile. It's got a thick body with ribs on the body section. Then it transitions to this ball, literally like a Yoda head in the middle of it. Check that out. That's kind of funny looking. So it's got these ears on it, and then these single appendages, these little, antenna, and then a single flapper. Of course, this is split at the very tail section, so you can cut this and create, more of like a traditional beaver presentation where it will probably kick. But really, this is meant to just go in and out of cover with ease. This is a flippin' bait through and through. This color is rad. It's called BTL, which Bass Talk Live, I believe the guys over there helped design this color. As you can see, there's some really cool flake in that. It's not even really a June buggy purple type of color, but it transitions to chartreuse and then black. And that's a beauty right there. So picked up 1 pack of those in the BTL color. And these were on sale. You know, they retail at like $3.50 or something like that. And I got them for, I want to say like $2.79. And then I got 1 more pack in the green pumpkin chartreuse color. Really like this color in most soft plastics. And green pumpkin chartreuse swirl, they call it. As you can see, got some of these tails just twisted up in the bag. And this is sealed. It's not like I've been in here, messed with any of these. I literally just opened this package with you guys. So not my favorite packaging, but they do make some great baits. And it feels like it's a pretty durable soft plastic, and it's fat enough that it will hold a bait keeper, will hold a flipping hook very well. I didn't quite show you the ribs and the hook slot on the top of the bait that are very friendly to hookup ratio. Okay, so you're going to go in through the bottom, and your hook's going to rest on top or be sitting in the bait, but then it's going to come up through the top. So you can use this with an EWG or with a flipping hook. I think this bait would also be great on a wobblehead, would be good on a chatterbait. Also just be good as a light flipping bait on like a Texas rig or on a Tokyo rig. I think it could be good on a free rig. That, the options are pretty wide when it comes to a bait like this that is super subtle and streamlined in nature. But being that it's called the BFE, the best flipper ever, That's really what this bait is designed for. And since I didn't have any in my arsenal, but was very curious about it, every time I saw it, I wanted to give it a shot. And that it's $3 a pack. So really there's no excuse for not trying it out. And I finally did get around to pulling that trigger eventually. Corey says, year and a half, Bradley Hallman's brainchild, great flipping bait. Yeah, okay, right on. Thank you for the info there. By the way, Corey, I think I saw your Instagram message today. I'll get back to you on that. I apologize, man. You said he told his daughter what he wanted. She drew it, and Big Bite produced it. How cool is that, man? I think I have seen that video after all. Yeah. Yeah, I'm with Matthew on the scent deal, Daniel. Yeah, I would say garlic over craw most of the time, but I don't think it really matters. Um, but it's all in our heads, right? If you're throwing a jig, for example, and the trailer you've got on it is a craw, then maybe you're going to have more confidence in slapping a little bit of that craw scent on it as opposed to just a standard garlic or whatever else you might be using. But again, I don't think the specific scent matters all that much. Daniel says, I'm thinking that will have more action than most beavers. Still, yeah, we'll have to see. I honestly don't know. I know that it's supposed to be relatively subtle, but it is the profile and the in and out ability of it that that is really the magic. But with all those ribs and those ears on it and stuff like that, it should have some secondary action for sure. So I hear you. Bruce says it never fails. Double sinus infection. Somehow I could smell the monster yard log I stepped in walking the dog. Oh my gosh. That sounds horrible. Pretty disgusting, Bruce. All right. I got 2 more packs of soft plastics in here. And again, don't ask me why I got these. This is all like, last minute purchases. Maybe I was trying to get over the $150 threshold. Maybe I actually was thinking through what I would use these for, but this is another pack of the Z-Man Pro Craws, but in the black and blue. I've got this bait in a couple of other colors. I've got it in the Drew's Craw, the green pumpkin orange, the deal. I literally have it in like 5 or 6 different colors, and I love this bait. But a black and blue jig is tough to go wrong with, and I think these were on sale, and I figured, you know what? I want to throw this bait more in 2022 than I did in 2021. I do have a lot of confidence in its design and in its buoyancy. I think it's great on a jig, on a Texas rig, um, on their Pro Bullets jig head that they made for it. And yeah, black and blue is something you can't go wrong with. So for $3 or whatever it costs, I decided to pick up a pack of that. And you're right, Ron. I'm addicted, right? Another pack of Max Scent, okay? But this is the ever popular flatworm. And I think last year I really only threw the flatworm in like the black color. And at this point, I maybe have it in a couple of other colors, but wow, this is sealed a little too well. Oh man. Now they're making you rip the top? Again, I don't care. I find that annoying. I don't know why they do that. Because until now they haven't been doing that. But this color here is called Gobiyashi. And look at how beautiful that is. It's got like this natural muted green with a pearl belly, and it's got some flake in here that is copper and purple and black. And yeah, she's a beauty. So this is a bait that I will definitely use when drop shotting, and I've got perch around, I've got baby bass around, I've got shad. I think this color is just going to do really well. And when I saw that in stock and only a couple left, I decided to pick up a pack of those and then those 3.5-inch tubes as well, as you guys already saw. So yeah, what are you gonna do? Those were all just kind of like add-ons or impulse purchases, if you will. All those soft plastics. Um, Speaking of soft plastics, I've got two more packs, but we're finally on to Jackall and Jackall alone. So we will go there next. Yeah, Daniel, I don't quite either. At least when it comes to like heavy flipping and pitching or punching, um, I don't punch very frequently, but need to do it more often in the same places that I'm throwing a frog, for example. Why not? It's just I'm rarely bringing two of kind of the same setup. What I use to throw a frog on is what I would use to punch with, and so for whatever reason, I'm just rarely taking the frog off and then punching. I like to have kind of that 1-2 combo where I'd be throwing a frog, and if I don't get bit, don't get any blowups on that, then I'll start flipping into the holes and around high percentage areas. But I don't do enough of it either, man. I'm with you on that. Bruce, is the drop shot worth trying from the bank? Yes, it is. Um, some people think that it's a hassle to tie. It's really not all that bad, man. Effectively, what you're doing is tying a Palomar knot onto a drop shot hook with an extra long leader, a long tag end, so that you've got somewhere between, 4 inches and 2 feet um, of tag. And then you're going to run that tag back through the eye of the hook and then tie or just, clip on your drop shot weight, whatever type of weight you're using. So it only takes a minute to rig up. I'm rarely using a swivel with a drop shot setup because I tend to switch presentations pretty frequently. But no, it is snag city. You are going to lose weights for sure. If you're drop shotting around rocks from the bank, you're going to lose weights. So that is part of the equation. You have to know that where you're using it is either a high percentage area where you're not dragging and increasing the risk of snagging by so much, or um, you have to be fishing around more sparse stuff on the bottom. But that's where lead weights come into play, and that's the only thing is if I'm drop shotting from the bank and there are potential snags, I'm using lead, not tungsten, like 95% of the time. I learned that lesson. All right, now moving right along, we've got the Jackall Archelon. This is also a flippin' bait, but more of a multi-purpose bait. So, yeah, this is another one I got to rip open to be able to show you guys, but I am pretty jacked up about this. This is another one uh, that I've been considering getting for a really long time, and for whatever dumb reason, uh, never gotten around to. So this is a 4.5-inch soft plastic flipping bait. This is a pretty big bait, uh, relatively long in nature, but relatively simple as well. It's just got these two claws and this one antenna down the middle. It's got a long ribbed body with a thick head to it that will take a flipping hook quite well. But the cool thing about this is it has a hollow portion inside the body of the bait that is made to take a rattle. Um, and I'm fairly sure it's here in the middle of the bait. Yeah. Um, so it's made to take a rattle or some scent. Now these baits already have some type of scent on them that I can't put my finger on. It's definitely seafoody, right? Uh, it doesn't smell great, but it also isn't so gnarly. Uh, it's not like a traditional shrimp smell, but this color is cool. They call this JL Cross, so it's kind of like a PB&J. You get this dark brown on the belly, and then more of like a black with purple flake. Um, so not your standard light purple and brown. This is like a black and brown with purple flake. JL Craw is what it's called. These things come 5 to a pack. Again, they're 4.5 inches long. Have a hollowed portion of the body that is made to insert a rattle and or some scent, but it makes this thing buoyant, and I'm pretty excited about that. So this is something that I have not tried before, but have heard good things for a long time. I know that the guys at Tactical Bassin used to recommend this bait like crazy a couple of years back, but I never got around to trying. I don't know if it's because of the size being a little intimidating to me or the value in that you pay $5 for a pack of 5 of these. But I never got around to buying these. And then these were 30% off during the 25 days of Christmas sale. And so ended up getting them for whatever, $3.50. And kind of pushed me over the edge. Had to try it. Yeah, Matt, I don't know why some are sealed and some aren't either. I hear you. Yeah, Ron, gotta smell them, dude. Gotta smell them. There's 17 people in here right now. 15 thumbs up. Super appreciate you guys. Thanks for jumping in here, hanging out tonight. Hope you are all doing well here in the new year. I am just opening a little package from Tackle Warehouse. I have got a big bait next, and this is the Jackall Gantarelle in the full size version. I have the Gantarelle Junior, and I could probably pull it out at least for size comparison. But this guy is the full size Jackall Gantarelle, and as you can see here, this guy measures 6.3 inches long, weighs in at 2.45 ounces. So 6-inch, 2.5 ounce bait. This is a reasonably big bluegill profile swim bait. Let's see here. Somehow it's secured on here. And that's with a little twisty tie on the back. All right. Get out of there. Okay. So here she is. This is a ghost gill color. Let me see if that might be exactly what it's called. RT Ghost Gill. So as you can see, this is not a small bait. And because it's a bluegill profile, it is relatively tall, but not quite as much as other bluegill baits or gizzard shad type of baits on the market. Now, I love this ghost gill pattern. As you can see, it's rather translucent. You might not be able to see all that well, but I mean, you can see me through that bait right now. This is a very transparent bait. You can see the internals of this thing where there's 3 weight balls down here and 3 up in this front section. A little bit of a rattle on it, but very similar to its little brother in that it's got a swiveling line tie on the nose, just above the nose of the bait, and then it has a line tie on the chin. You can tie your line here on the chin, or you can attach a weight because this is a floating swim bait. Even though it weighs 2.5 ounces, this thing is a floater. So as you work it, it's going to just go barely subsurface. This is a two-jointed swim bait, so it is made to be swum more than it is worked with the reel. You're not going to do as many erratic type of work with this bait, but you certainly can. Now, other than the two ties up front, these hooks down here are these are feathered trebles with like a unique like duck type of material, and these are on swivels as well. So cool thing about swiveling hook hangers is, of course, that it prevents fish from having leverage to throw the hook. Once you actually hook up with them, they can thrash, and they're not going to be able to get rid of the hook nearly as easily as you would with a traditional lure. You also have a little hanger on the tail so that you could add a stinger hook, a third treble hook on the back if you so choose to do it. It's got these stabilizer hard plastic fins coming off the side of the bottom of the bait. And yeah, just a gorgeous paint job overall. Really high quality, well-made bait, and one that I'm excited to have. I only had its baby brother up until now, so I will pull that out and show it to you real quick. Because I'm pretty sure it's in here. For a while, I always thought that, with these things, the smaller the better. And in general, I do really like this Gantarel Junior. I think it's a great size and perhaps the most appropriate size for what I think bass are commonly feeding on when it comes to bluegill. Like a 4 to 5 inch bait, whereas the full size Gantarel is a 6, almost 6.5 inch bait. So here are the size differences that you get right there. And in my opinion, the Gantarel Junior is just a little bit more bite-sized, but of course, the full-size Gantarel is going to get you bigger bites. So I wanted to see how it compares with its baby brother in terms of action. And, with that 30% off deal, could not help but finally pull the trigger on it because it's not necessarily a cheap bait, right? Like, let me see if it says on the invoice here. Well, it only shows what I paid for these. So I paid $27.99. That's after 30% off. So I guess this thing retails at what, like $36, $37, something like that. So it's a decently priced bait, but it became a lot more reasonable with that 30% off, and could not help it. Guggen Slayer in the house. What's up, dude? Solo X Fury. What up? Dropping in to say hi. No problem. Appreciate you dropping in. Studying as usual. Okay, well, if you can watch back another time on the replay, all good. No big deal. Sorry, I'm behind on comments right now, guys. Ron says, want to see the video when you fish that Gantarel. Okay, you got it. Yeah, I've fished the junior as recently as a month. Sorry, 2 months ago. It was in maybe early November, and I definitely like how shallow it runs, and how subtle of an action it's got. So yeah, definitely a good bait. But in my opinion, that Gantrel Junior is just a little bit more snack size for bass, and that full size Gantrel is not only a big profile and probably one that the bass will struggle to fully get in their mouths. Um, but it might be almost too much, too intimidating for fish to eat. And it also might be a little bit too heavy for a lot of people to throw on their standard gear. So the Gantrel Junior, I want to say, weighs like an ounce and a half. Um, Much more reasonable to throw on traditional casting gear. You could throw it on a flipping stick or a frogging setup. Anything that handles, an ounce and a half or up to 2 ounces, you're going to be totally fine. But stepping up to a 2.5 ounce bait, then all of a sudden you kind of do need a little bit of a dedicated setup, and to go to something like what I've got in the Dobbins Fury 795 swim bait rod, which handles lures up to 4 ounces, but really its sweet spot is like 2-3 ounces mostly. So yeah, cool bait for sure. Matt says, seen a dude buy a lot of four of them because he liked them so much. And if he loses them, he loses them. Well, that's a good mentality to have for sure. Solo X Fury, I don't know about that, man. I probably wouldn't go swimming for a $30 bait. In fact, I've lost a few that I did not go swimming for, but I hear you. It is a hard pill to swallow, losing a bait like that. So, okay, I've got about another half a dozen hard baits to show you guys, and let's get into these ones. First up, actually, I'm gonna save this one for last because it's kind of the most unique and one that I wasn't aware of. But first, I'm gonna show you the Jackall re-range. This is a bait that I already have. You guys probably already have. Um, a fantastic shallow water suspending jerk bait. It's got an innovative and obnoxious weight transfer system that is magnetic, so it'll scare you on the back cast when you load up and fling this thing out there. Um, it sounds like kerplunk every single time. It is really, really loud. Um, this bait has been dynamite for a number of years now, and they came out with a medium runner a year or two ago, which is also a great bait. So it'll just run a little bit more traditionally, like in that 5 to 8 foot range, maybe not even eight. Whereas the original is staying in that like 2 to 5, um, and really like the bait. So what I didn't have in my arsenal was the larger size. Um, the standard is the 110. Okay, just a normal sized jerk bait, and I think I got one here. I brought down some baits to reorganize uh, that were in the garage from one of the last times that I was fishing, and I've got some lipless crankbaits in here, all pretty natural shad patterns. I'll go ahead and set this Jackall TN70 aside since we're going to be talking about that in just a couple minutes. But here is the re-range 110. Okay. Um, you can see it's got a little bit of hook rash here. Um, this is an awesome bait, but it's a standard 110 size. and weight. Now they do make a 130, and I don't throw 130 size jerkbaits very frequently, but the reason that I considered getting this was because I've got a little bit of an interest in figuring out when and where to throw big lures, because my collection of them has started to increase. I've got Magnum square bills. I've got large 1 ounce lipless crankbait, um, things like that. And I have, I've got mega topwater walking baits, but I've got this Megabass Canada jerkbait that is a really narrow profile. It's got a pretty aggressive action and is really loud. And I've got it in this perch pattern because if you guys don't already know, and I've been explaining this not just recently, but over the last year or two, but I've got some bodies of water where perch is really like the main source of forage for a lot of these big smallies and big largies in some of these reservoirs close to me. So that's why I picked up this perch pattern Canada like a year ago. And I was thinking that a 130 size re-range obviously doesn't come close to the Canada, but it's much bigger than the standard size re-range, as I just showed you a second ago. So I am interested to give this a shot. It weighs like 3/4 of an ounce or something like that. So decided to pick up one of these re-range 130s in this order, and I'm pretty excited about it. Now, I've got some lipless crankbaits. I did just mention that Jackall TN. All right, Daniel says it's $39.99 for the full size Gantarelle. So yeah, I guess you take $12 off of that, and you're at $28 after 30% off for the full size Gantarelle. So yeah, good deal. Couldn't help but pick one up once I saw that deal because $40 is enough to like make me hesitate, deter me a little bit. The same was the deal with that 8-inch HUD that I just showed you. I really got that during the Black Friday sale because of that 20% off. So anyway, Grayson, you are late, man. We're an hour in, and I don't know how much longer we're gonna go tonight, but no big deal. I forgot to bring my water down, so my throat's a little bit dry. I've been coughing more than I want to. Um, but welcome to the stream, dude. Good to see you in here. Bruce says the only way I'll be using Megabass is if I get it used in a bulk purchase. I've had days where I lost 5 lures. Yep. I hear you there. Feel you. And sometimes you got to pay to play though, right? Absolutely sucks to lose 50 or $100 in lures in one day, but it can happen. And if you guys remember when I had Matthew Acevedo on my live stream like a month ago, he told a funny story about how he went fishing with his dad, and his dad lost like 3 baits in a row that were all Megabass, um, and just flung off and snagged like 50 or $80 worth of baits in short order. So yeah, it happens. Guggen Slayer says my best big bait pattern is in clear water with low light. Interesting. Pretty cool. What color was that re-range 110? Says Ron. This guy right here. I want to say it's a shad pattern. Obviously, they call it something Hasu. I can find it in like 5 seconds for you, man. Just hang tight. Yeah, HL Silver Shad is what it's called. Pretty straightforward. Um, but great color. Great color. All right. Camillo, you're right about that. We're going to talk about the TNs. This little box right here is nothing but LV500s and Jackall TNs. You can see LV500s covering most of this box, including these custom run ones with Valley Hill that I showed you guys like a month ago. That had the blade on the front of them. Super awesome. That's actually a one knocker. The other one is not, but the LV500 and the Jackall TN70 fall right into that same class because they are heavy lipless crankbaits that fall nose first and are designed to be fished mostly on bottom. And they will rest nose down, ass up, and do a really good job at that. They're great at ripping up off of bottom, but the LV500 is a little bit larger at 3 inches long and 3/4 of an ounce. The TN70 is like 2.5, 2 3/4 inches and weighs 5/8 of an ounce. So it's a slightly smaller bait, slightly lighter bait, but still falls into that category of bigger, heavier lipless crankbaits. And the TN stands for tungsten. So if you didn't already know that, it is a loud and sensitive bait, which is cool. But the TN70 is the only size that I have owned up until now, and I've had it in the regular, which is kind of a high pitch rattle, and the disc knocker, which is their one knocker version. Now, this time I decided to pick up a couple of the 60s and one of the 50s. So I think I got one of each kind in the 60. What I like about the 60 is it's really like a traditional lipless crankbait in size. So all of a sudden you can take this bait that technically speaking is meant to be fished closer to the bottom, but you can fish it through more of the water column or in shallower water. So I usually think of the LV500 and the TN70 as deeper water lipless crankbaits. You can burn them in mid-depth or slightly shallower water, but as you get into the TN60 and the 50, all of a sudden you can start to fish these baits just a little bit differently, whether it's in shallower water or on more of a straight retrieve or even vertically dropping the bait. So the 50, which we're going to talk about in a second, is actually supposed to be a great ice fishing bait. Now, what a cool color this guy is right here. Super realistic looking. This is called RT Scale Minnow. And again, this is the TN60. So 2.4 inches long and 4/9 of an ounce. So right at like that half-ounce range. Little bit smaller than what you'd have in like an average size lipless crankbait. And I'm not mad about that. In fact, I think that's really cool. So next up is the TN60 in the disc knocker. Focus. There she is. Disc knocker. Now this actually shows 2.4 inches and half of an ounce. So who knows? Maybe that tungsten weight adds just a, or that disc knocker adds a little bit more weight than the BBs in it. But here is the sound of this guy. And you can't see on the inside of this guy, but I'll show you on the inside of one of my other TN70 disc knockers that is a little bit more translucent. The knockers are actually like it's one cylinder, and this guy actually looks kind of like a watch battery, if that makes sense. It's a circle that has a a thickness of a couple millimeters, a diameter of maybe uh not a little more than a half of a centimeter, and then we've got one BB up front in a separate chamber. So they call it the disc knocker, but yeah, pretty cool bait. So this color here is called RT Hollow Bluegill. So holographic bluegill, another super rad and realistic color pattern here. These paint jobs are impeccable. And I apologize that my camera is not wanting to focus for you guys because this is wicked. I had it focused. Yeah, look at that. A little bit of color shift in there. And yeah, it's got blue, it's got purple, it's got kind of a black back, more of like a gold belly to it. Beautiful bluegill pattern there. Whereas this minnow slash shad pattern is pretty sweet. So got the regular sound for the shad or the minnow, and you can see there's a whole bunch of BBs in the bottom of this bait. So high pitch rattle, low pitch knocking sound are the main differences you get there. But these are really the traditional size half-ounce lipless crankbait that you get out of the TN60. And then lastly, this is the TN50, which is really their quarter-ounce lipless crankbait. This is a 2-inch and 5/16 of an ounce lipless crankbait that honestly I have been wanting to try, but it's newer to the market and the colors tend to sell out pretty quickly. So I didn't manage to get my hands on one of, say, my top 2 or 3 colors, but this guy right here, of course, it doesn't say the name of the color on it because it's something weird. Let's see here. This is just called Money. And I guess it looks like money. Or maybe it just wins cash money. This is like a clown color. You can see it's got a chartreuse fading to a red. It's got a chartreuse belly. And then it's got kind of a gill pattern on the side that is mostly silver and green. So beautiful little guy here. You can see that the body shape on this one, oh, stuck myself with that 60. Got to be careful with these small and sticky treble hooks. I'm not trying to have any accidents right now. So a couple things that I notice are, look at the rear hook hanger. On the 50, it's actually below the tail. On the 60, it's in the tail, like would be traditional. Otherwise, you can see that the taper is steeper from the body to the tail. It's got a shorter tail section than, say, the 60 does, where it doesn't taper quite as aggressively. It's more of like a traditional minnow profile, and then this guy is a little bit fatter of a body and has a shorter tail. So interesting, but this is the standard, not the disc knocker. And as you can hear, that rattle just keeps getting higher and higher pitch from the 70 to the 60 to the 50. Very high pitch. And this reminds me of a lot of the other 1/4-inch lipless crankbaits that I have and that I use. You know, including, say, the Yozuri that that has become kind of one of my go-tos when it comes to that type of presentation, a very small-bodied lipless crankbait. Although I want to say this guy actually weighs 3/8. Very similar pitch as that Yozuri. So anyway, really excited about those TN lipless crankbaits, and I've literally got 2 more things in the box, and that's it. And then we can kind of open up the conversation, maybe wrap this up. We will see. I know it's super late on the East Coast. Ron Hawley, our buddy, is up late. You know, he's recently moved across the country, so ordinarily it would be 9:30 for him. Right now it's 12:30. It's Sunday night. Not only do I apologize for being on late, but I really appreciate you guys showing your support, hanging out, wanting to watch videos like this and talk amongst yourselves and with me. And yeah, thanks for being here. So Matt says, Tyler, have you ever tried the I'm a Suspending Vibe lipless crankbait? Got a couple from Tackle Warehouse. They look really nice. Has a nice thick body. Suspends it like 3 to 4 feet. Has some Zappu floating boards. With some Zappu floating boards, you can turn it into a slow float. Yes, I do have that bait, and I like it just a little bit better than I like the 6 Sense Suspending Quake. I like the profile of the Suspending Vibe just a little bit better. It's a pretty round lipless crankbait, but I'm surprised there aren't more suspending lipless cranks on the market. I really like how you can work a stop and go retrieve in the middle of the water column or even borderline upper portion of the water column. And yeah, I do have a couple of them and I like them quite a lot. So I've talked about those before. I don't know that I'm going to dig so much for them, but yeah, I've got them right up here right now. I've only got a two of them, maybe. And one of them's missing at the moment. Has been put to work. But yeah, very cool bait here. Relatively quiet. Whereas that Suspending Quake, it's also kind of quiet. You know, they both have fewer rattles in them. It's not that quiet. But it's a bigger bait than the Suspending Vibe is. Both of these are relatively large profiles. But, you know, that Quake's got a different back, different vibration that it puts out. Both are worth having. Will Perriman in the house. Dude, good to see you in here. Hope you're doing well, Will. Camilo says, LV500 or TN? Which do you throw the most? So I throw the LV500 a little bit more often, but my hopes are that by picking up the TN60 and even the 50, that my mindset might shift around that series of baits and that I might start throwing the TN as much or more than the LV. That's the thing, is the LV comes in other sizes, but they tend to be a little bit more specialized They make an LV 150. They make an LV 300 and a 200. But they're all very different than the LV 500. So it's not like you can. There's less consistency than what you get with the Jackall TN series of lipless crankbaits, and I like that consistency. So um, I use the LV 500 more, but I'm already starting to perhaps like the TN series more. Um, but that's a tough question to answer. Camillo, Matt says, for some reason I noticed that the lipless baits with small BBs attract snakeheads a lot. Huh? Interesting. So you don't use them as much because of that? That's kind of funny. Um, no, I had no idea, man. But I also don't have snakeheads, so not my problem. Okay, last bait in this unboxing is an old and I think maybe discontinued bait. Jackall has brought some old stuff back. They are phasing out some stuff. They're kind of all over the place, hard to keep track of with some of their baits. But this is one that was released some 5 or 6 years ago. Um, did not gain a lot of traction, but this thing was on super clearance, and I could not help but pick up two of these to try them out because they look really cool and they're unlike really anything else out there. And this is the Jackall Archelon SR. So this is a jointed crankbait, and they make this in a SR version, which is this one. So this shallow runner only runs to 4 feet deep, and then they make it in an MR, which is more like a 4 to 8 foot diver. But take a look at this. It's got a subtle rattle to it, but it has a joint. And so that joint is going to produce a lot of noise from it hitting itself. That was a big thing that they advertised with this bait originally, was that knocking sound being what triggers bites. And so I never even knew about this bait. Oh, you can hear it a little bit better there. That's a pretty attractive sound, as is this color pattern. Chartreuse and purple, baby. So I picked up two of these. They were originally sold for like, 15 bucks, but I want to say they were on sale for like $5. And so, yeah, purple and chartreuse and Aurora black. Can't go wrong with a color like Aurora black. This guy right here is gorgeous. Gonna put off a ton of flash in sunny conditions. So I do notice that this bill looks a little bit miscolored or stained. That doesn't particularly bother me, but it's got like a little bit of a yellowish hint to it. Who cares? At $5 a pop, these guys were interesting enough for me to check out and give a try. Jointed crankbaits. You don't see that all that often. Rapala and a couple other brands maybe have their own take on it, but this is a standard body, but they made it jointed. Very cool. So again, these are the SR, the shallow runner, and picked up two of those. So that does it for this unboxing. I've been on for an hour and 20 minutes, but just to kind of rehash and tell you what I picked up. If you guys jumped in here late and you want to go back and see some of this stuff, feel free to rewind, watch this on the replay. I showed you guys first the new rod that I picked up. This is the Daiwa Aired X 7'3", medium heavy, fast action. This is, at least as far as I'm concerned, what I've been told, one of the best budget friendly rods on the market. It's a $50 retail uh, price point rod, cheap rod. Okay. And it was on sale for $38, something silly like that. So I picked one up in a 7'3" medium heavy, kind of as a do it all, something that I want to look into and potentially be able to recommend to you guys moving forward, if I like it, of course. And then picked up a couple packs of Maxcent soft plastics. So I got the 3.5-inch tubes in green pumpkin, and I got uh, the flatworm. Actually, I didn't even mention this, but the flatworm that I picked up is the new 4.25-inch size. So the flatworm used to just be a 3.5-inch bait. And that was a big thing that made it different from the hitworm. Of course, aside from the shape, this is a flat bottom worm, whereas the hitworm is totally round. But the hitworm was a 4.5-inch bait, and the flatworm was a 3.5-inch bait. So you would fish them perhaps rigged similarly, but in different scenarios. And now they make the flatworm in a 4.25. So that's what size this is. But this is the Gobiyashi color. Absolutely lovely. So a couple packs of the Max Scent. Those were not discounted, but I was excited about the bait and the color there. Couple packs of the Big Bite baits, soft plastics, the BFE, right? That best flipper ever. Uh, Finally pulled the trigger on those because they were on sale. Again, that 25 days of Christmas sale at Tackle Warehouse is a pretty cool deal, and one that is worth looking into around New Year's. Once all of the daily deals have revealed themselves, of course, some of the stuff is going to sell out. So that's the main issue to waiting, like, say, Ron Holly and I did, is that you might forget, like Ron did, and never pull the trigger. And then you kind of ruin your chance at getting these deals. Or you might do what I did in keeping that Dobbins Fury 806 swim bait rod in your cart for too long, and then it sells out before you can pull the trigger on it, and you miss out on the deal. So uh, that's ultimately why I've got this Aired X, which of totally different applications. But I was interested in getting a rod that was discounted, and this just so happened to be the one that made the most sense as kind of a plan B, if you will. Then staying on soft plastics, got a couple of the Jackall Archelons. Those are another flipping bait, large profile bait that would be also great on a wobblehead, but because of its buoyancy with that air pocket in the body that is meant for a rattle or meant for scent, the thing is buoyant and would be great on a shaky head or on a Tokyo rig or even on a drop shot. So the Archelon is one that I'm excited to give a try to. I'm not even going to mention it, but the pack of Z-Man Pro Craws, just threw one of those in the cart for no real reason. And then all those hard baits from Jackall. Uh, really pretty pumped about them. So, you know, I got the full-size Gantarelle in that ghost gill color. I got the larger, yow. Oh, I stuck myself. I got the larger 130 sized re-range in that perch pattern. I got 3 of the smaller sized Jackall TN lipless crankbaits. 2 in the 60, 1 in the 50. And what am I missing here? Just this guy, I guess. 2 of this Aragon jointed shallow diving crankbait. So really excited about that purchase. Let me catch up on these comments right now. I appreciate you guys watching and hanging out. Will Perriman says, "Happy New Year, my man. Glad to see, glad to catch some lipless chat going on. I've got the Jackall TNs. Love them. Yeah, sweet, man. Yeah, the question was, which do you like better out of the LV500 and the Jackall TN series, and why? And I said I use the LV500 a little bit more often, but I think I'm starting to perhaps like or respect the TN series just a little bit more because of its versatility, the difference in sizes, etc. Uh, the LV RTO shakes like a red eye shad on the fall, says Guggen Slayer. I like those and the Aruku shads, but I want those TNs. Yeah, uh, there are a handful of baits that will have that shimmy on the fall, and you got to respect that. I think that's the really what the red eye shad is known for, and as well as just being a bait that you can fish pretty high in the water column, and yeah, it's a really versatile bait. That red eye shad is, while it's perhaps the industry standard for the average fisherman, I'd say it's still underrated. Great bait. And yeah, the Aruku shad is another one that sits nose down, tail up. Uh, Great bait at a reasonable price point as well. Like that for fishing, just like you would the LV500 and the TN70 for the most part. But I don't think I have any of the LV RTOs. Will says he loves jointed baits. Right on, man. This guy runs 2 to 4 feet, Matt. It's the Aragon SR. Like I said, they make it in an MR version as well, which runs down to 8 feet, but this SR only goes 4 feet. Yeah. Ron says, my wife likes it better when I miss the sales. No doubt about that. I hear you 1,000%. Mine does too. Will says, sounds like you had a winning Black Friday sale. That was actually the 25 days of Christmas sale, not Black Friday. So I had made a separate Black Friday purchase that if you were to go back on my channel, half a dozen live streams or so, you'd probably see it there. But yeah, this was a month later, end of year sale, if you will. But it was part of that 25 days of Christmas where they released a new deal every day, but they stayed open for the remainder of the sale. So say that first deal that became live whenever it was, December 8th or whenever, stayed valid for a month long. The sale didn't close until January 10th. So, the last deal didn't become active until a few days into January. But then for that last week of the sale, you had access to everything that was a part of that sale. So I didn't pull the trigger until late in uh, first week of January. Just got the packages yesterday. So Will says, still love my Excalibur lipless, but I'm loving the TN60s and 70s. Don't have the 50. Yeah. I don't know if you saw, I was showing the 50 next to the 60. It's got a little bit of a different shape. Um, I think that the 50 is known a little bit more for multi-species fishing, for ice fishing, for vertical jigging, but it's got a little bit of a different body profile. So what you get here is that hook hanger in the rear on the 60 is straight out of the tail, and it's under the tail on the 50. And then you get a longer, more traditional profile, just like the 70 in the 60. Whereas in the 50, you get this taller profile, which then more steeply and abruptly transitions to a short tail. So a little bit different there in the 50. And then, of course, it's a really high pitch, as you would expect out of a quarter-ounce lipless crankbait, which I showed in comparison, side by side with, say, the Yozuri, which is a little bit longer of a bait, but also has that very high pitch rattling sound. So yeah, no problem, Will. Yeah, you got in on both sales as well. Right on, man. Matt says they have another BKK treble hook on Tackle Warehouse now. They've got an EWG one up. It looks really good. The round bends, I bought a bunch of them and like them a lot. They're strong and sharp as hell. I have number fives. Yeah, number 5 is a great size, a very underrated size that I don't think many companies make. I would love a like a short shank number 3. How cool would that be? You don't find those very often. I find that a short shank number 2 is often serviceable, but feels really big. Like a triple grip in a size 2. But yeah. Hey, Ron, no problem. Thank you so much for hanging out tonight. Dip out, man. It is pushing 1 o'clock your time. So pound it. Thank you for hanging out. I'm not going to stay on here much longer. So no worries. Uh, yeah, it's been a fun one. Thank you for tuning in, as always. Will says, Tackle Warehouse empties my cart all the time. I was here for all the Jackall, and I wonder if that TN50 gets snagged with the short tail. That's a good point. Snagged on what now is the question. The hooks are properly sized, so they're not going to catch each other, but with the hook just sitting a little bit lower, it could get snagged a little bit more frequently, but I doubt all the time. Um, so yeah, that's an interesting point. I don't know, but it's pretty rare that you see a rear hook hanger dropped below the tail instead of straight out of the tail. So just something I noticed, but not necessarily something that I understand what it's going to do or why. So yeah. Will, do you on Tackle Warehouse, do you create wish lists? Because I have found that has been a lifesaver for me because I've been guilty of the same thing of, building up a cart only to have Tackle Warehouse clear it out within the week. I find that those cookies don't last more than like a week before the cart clears out. So what I will do is add everything uh, to a cart, and then I will just select all and add them to a wish list. I will create a new wish list, and usually I'm doing like one per season, one per quarter. So I'll do like winter 22, spring 22, or pre-spawn 22. Um, summer of 2022. And then I've usually got one for Black Friday and for various sales. That way you can keep a running list without forgetting what you had added to your cart. That is absolutely crucial. You don't need to be signed into Tackle Warehouse to have that either. So I definitely do recommend starting to use wish lists if you don't already on Tackle Warehouse. And Will says, I found 5/16 are a great weight. Love to have those number three treble hooks. I've got some Rapala number threes. Yeah. Well, glad that you appreciate the info about the wish list thing. Yeah, it's been a lifesaver for me over the last couple of years. Honestly, if I'm looking at it now, I have been doing it for a few years. So my wish lists go back to December of 18. Um, but then next one was fall of 19, spring of 20, summer 20, fall 20, Black Friday 20, winter 2021, spring 21, summer 21, winter 21, spring 22. I've already got one there with 6 crankbaits in it. One is that BKK Titan hook, some Gancraft Bariki sheds, a Spro Aruku shed Junior, some Jackall MC60 square bills in the shallow runner, and another Evergreen Flat Force. So yeah, those are baits that like aren't on my mind at the moment, but that I do want to come back around to at some point when I'm maybe going to load up a cart. Let's say there's something that just came in to Tackle Warehouse and I want to grab it before it sells out. Then what I might do is hop into the wish list, throw a couple things into my cart from the wish list to reach that $50 threshold to get free shipping. So I'm not paying for shipping. And then that way I'm getting stuff that isn't really a waste, not totally impulse purchases. Um, though, as you guys learned tonight, I do still make impulse purchases um, if things are on sale or if it's been on my mind um, as of late and kind of gone in and out. But yeah, for the most part, you're right about that. Will discount tackle will save your cart, um, but not always. You know, mine do clear out from time to time. By the way, I did just make my discount tackle purchase for the month of January, either yesterday or today. So I'll probably get that in the next week. And I think my wife is working next weekend, so hopefully I'll have it in by then. But we'll see. That was kind of an interesting purchase. Um, bit more impulsive, less planning. Guggen Slayer says there's a new 3.8-inch Rage Bug. Kind of silly. Yeah, I don't really understand why they did a like a mid-sized Rage Bug. Isn't that what they did? They had the original Rage Bug, and then they came out with the baby Rage Bug and the Magnum, and now they're doing like a mid-sized Rage Bug. If I'm not mistaken, it seems kind of silly to me. Reminds me of uh, who else did that? Zoom did it with the Brush Hog, but I think that was actually a solid move because you went from the tiny to the baby to the full size, and there was a jump from the full size or from the baby Brush Hog at 4 inches to the full size Brush Hog at like 6. That mid-sized Brush Hog actually does fill a void, but like a mid-sized Rage Bug doesn't really make any sense. You know, the standard size Rage Bug is great. What, it's 4 inches. If you want to trim it down, you bite off the first 2 or 3 sections, so you can thread it on a jig or whatever you're going to do with it. But otherwise, there's really no reason to make a slightly smaller version of the same thing. That said, the baby Rage Bug is deadly. Um, yeah, I'll just say that. Okay, guys, it's been an hour and 40 minutes. It is getting late, about 11 o'clock my time. Later for you guys, for the most part, unless you're somehow on the West Coast. But I appreciate your guys' support and your desire to hang out tonight. We got 20 thumbs up on this video. And yeah, it's been fun. Always fun to pick up a new package of fresh baits that I have never tried, as well as a new rod. And yeah, hope you guys have a great week. Tomorrow is a holiday, so I hope not too many of you guys are working tomorrow. But of course, not many of us are fishing, given that it's the dead of winter. So I will be doing a little bit more work around the house, a little bit more working on carving some crankbaits and organizing tackle. I still need to take down the Christmas lights that are way high up on my house, but that's beside the point. I took down most of the lights earlier today. We built a new closet for my daughters, and yeah, hope you guys are well. Have a great one. I will see you in the next one, probably Friday or Saturday of next week. But just keep your notifications on, and I will see you guys again soon. Thanks for hanging out. To everybody in here, Coogan Slayer, Matt, Bruce, Will, and everybody that was in here earlier. Appreciate you guys. Holler.